At 3:12 a.m., my GPS confirmed we'd arrived, but the passenger sitting behind me hadn't moved. Not even a muscle. This was one of those fares that stains the end of a long shift. The kind you take because the money is good and you're too tired to think twice. It had been raining for hours. A fine, cold mist that slicked the roads and blurred the streetlights into watercolor streaks. Most of the night was a familiar loop. Airport runs, last calls from downtown bars, the quiet hum of the interstate. But this ride felt different from the start. The request came from the edge of the city, a quiet residential street where all the houses were dark. I remember my mind was just empty. A kind of numb focus that gets you through the late hours. I was thinking about the coffee I'd make when I got home, not the person getting into my car. He was just a shape in the rearview mirror, a shadow against the rain-streaked window. And for a long time, he was silent. I'd driven for over an hour, leaving the city glow behind. The streetlights thinned out, replaced by the occasional lonely porch light of a farmhouse, then nothing but trees. The air in the car grew heavy. Still, I'd picked up hundreds of people, and you get a feel for them. Some are chatty, some are drunk, some just want to scroll on their phones. But this silence was different. I'd wait. He wasn't asleep. I could feel him watching the road with me. His breathing was steady, almost unnervingly calm. It was the kind of quiet that makes you hyper-aware of every little sound. The wipers slapping back and forth, the tires hissing on the wet pavement, the faint rattle in the dashboard I'd been meaning to get fixed. I glanced at the rearview mirror once. I couldn't see his face, just the outline of his head against the dark woods rushing by. There was this small detail, the way he held his hands in his lap, perfectly still, not fidgeting, not relaxed, just placed. I noticed it, but I ignored it. The route took me deeper into the Chippewa National Forest. The paved road turned to gravel, then to a muddy two-track lane swallowed by the trees. My headlights cut a narrow tunnel through the absolute blackness. The rain was letting up, but a thick fog was rolling in, clinging to the ground and swallowing the edges of the light. He hadn't said a word since he gave me the address. The GPS was my only guide, its calm, digital voice, a strange contrast to the dense, living silence of the forest around us. Then, the voice announced, "Your destination is ahead." Up ahead, my headlights hit a weathered wooden sign. It was unmistakable, even in the fog. Big, blocky letters. Nitrogen monoxide vehicles beyond this point. The road, if you could even call it that, continued past the sign, disappearing into the trees. I slowed the car to a crawl and stopped. This was the spot, the end of the line. I turned to look back at him. That silence felt heavier than conversation. I put the car in park, the engine idling, the sound unnaturally loud in the quiet. "This is it," I said. My voice sounded weak. He leaned forward slightly. The first time he'd moved in over an hour. "Just a little farther," he said. His voice was flat, without any urgency. "The lake is just down this path. It won't take long." I hesitated. "Sir? The sign says no vehicles." He didn't argue. He didn't raise his voice. He just said, "I know. Please. It's important." I looked from the sign to the dark path, then at his silhouette in the mirror. Every instinct I had was screaming at me to say no, to tell him this is where the ride ends. But I was tired, and something in his voice, not pleading, but certain, made me put the car back in drive. I shouldn't have continued. I rolled past the sign, my tires sinking into the soft mud. The branches of ancient pines scraped against the sides of my car, a sound like fingernails on metal. That's when I realized I was no longer relaxed. We drove for maybe another 2 minutes down the forbidden path. It opened up suddenly, and there it was, a lake. Not the kind you see on postcards. There was no dock, no cabin, no lights, just a vast, still sheet of black water reflecting the foggy sky. It was utterly desolate. The air was cold and smelled of wet earth and pine. I pulled the car as close to the water's edge as I dared and killed the engine. The silence that rushed in was absolute. It pressed in on the car. On my ears, it felt like the world had stopped breathing. "Turn off the headlights," he said. I did. We were plunged into near-total darkness, the only light a faint gray glow from the fog. I could hear my own heart beating. "I need you to wait," he said, "and I need you to hold this for me." He leaned forward and placed a heavy object on the passenger seat. It was a small, dense box, wrapped in black plastic and sealed with duct tape. It made no sound. It was just heavy. This was the point of no return. This is where I almost turned the car around. He opened his door, and the cold, damp air flooded the car. He didn't look at me. He just got out and walked toward the water. I watched his dark shape move away from the car, his feet making soft, sucking sounds in the mud. He didn't hesitate. He walked straight into the lake. The water rose to his knees, then his waist. The fog swirled around him, obscuring his form. For a moment, he was just a silhouette against the black water. Then he stopped and turned his head back toward the car. I couldn't see his face, but I felt his gaze. His voice cut through the silence, calm and clear. "If I'm not back in 3 minutes, leave." And then he turned and waded deeper, the darkness and the water swallowing him completely. 3 minutes. I stared at the clock on my dashboard. 1 minute passed. The silence was deafening. I looked at the black, heavy object on the seat next to me. 2 minutes. My hands were shaking. What was in the box? What was in the lake? 3 minutes came and went. He didn't come back. I waited for 10. Then 20. An hour went by. Each minute felt like a lifetime. The forest was still. The lake was a mirror of the dark sky. There was no sign of him, no ripple, no sound. Finally, the first hint of gray dawn started to lighten the sky. My fear had slowly curdled into a strange, hollow guilt. I had driven him here. I had waited, and I had done nothing. I started the car, the engine roaring to life and shattering the stillness. I didn't look back. Idra Vawai, my tires spinning in the mud, branches scraping the car as I fled back down the path, past the Signan, onto the gravel road. I didn't stop until I had a phone signal. I called the police. I told them everything, my voice trembling. They took my statement, but their questions were vague. They knew this place. They told me that area of the forest wasn't on any public maps for a reason. It was used for all sorts of things, a dumping ground for illegal operations, a place where people disposed of evidence. They even used it for their own training simulations. They never told me if they found him. I never asked. Sometimes I wonder if leaving was the right choice, or if it was just the only one that kept me alive. Something didn't line up that night, and I'm the only one left to remember it. Some rides don't end when the car stops.